Welcome to the fourth edition of Monday's Emissions from the Heart. So glad to see you back. Last week we talked about, or at least I talked about, what it was like to be a wife. This time we're going to talk about being a mother from from that particular union. So let's just whip over here to my PowerPoint and let's just talk about motherhood. Motherhood. That's such a wonderful thing and such a blessing that to be a mother. I just, it's something when I think about how God enabled me to be a mother, whether I wanted to be a mother or not. He just gave me that opportunity. So as a mother, I've always thought about being a mother, not like I was obsessed or being a mother. You just have those things that people tell you, okay, you want to be a mother and have X amount of kids, have the white picket fence with the 2.5 kids, whatever. Whatever. I thought the ideal mother was going to be the type of mother that stayed at home. I don't know where I got that from. Probably got something I read, something media, the things that they expose us to about what you're supposed to be like as a mother. And since my mother wasn't a stay-at-home mother because she had to work, just like most of our mothers probably had to work too, because we want to travel, want to go places, and our family traveled a lot. So they had to work. They were both government employees and they worked. And so my brother and I, we were the typical latchkey type of kids. And then we got the key, got in the house and was home alone until dad got home. So I was like, oh, I don't want to do that with my kids. I want to be at home with them and doing these nurturing kind of things. But the reality is I couldn't do that. I had to work because my husband and I also like to travel and go places. And, we can only have so much income. So I have to get out there and help out. And then I remember telling you in last week's session that my husband had all those type of jobs where he was to get work, he would lay off, work, lay off. So I had to be the steady Eddie. So that's where I had to work. So I also at that time wanted to have 5 kids. Where I got the number 5 from, don't ask me. I have no idea. I just know that it was just two of us, my brother and I, as siblings, and I had no problems where we were growing up. I don't know if it was when I was talking to my husband, listening to his stories, because he grew up in a big family. There was always, I'm thinking he said 5 to 6 kids in the house, and that was just the siblings. And then they would have cousins and uncles and aunts and all kind of people in the house staying over because maybe they needed a little help, stay a few months, stay a couple years, who knows. But just the fact that he had 5 brothers and sisters was like, wow, that sounds kind of cool. Are you guys hanging out and dealing with stuff like that and having this big family? So I think I thought I was missing out on something by just having just my brother and I. I don't know. And we were 3 years apart. So it wasn't like we were too far in age where we couldn't hang out. It's just that we're opposite sexes and necessarily you don't hang out with each other just because of that. So, however, that thought changed after I had that first one. And this one picture here, you can see that that's my husband, myself, my son, and then my daughter when she was first born. And that crib is the crib that my husband built for her. So that's why we're all like, wow, looking at that. So when I had the first one, my son, that smiling, cheesy, wheezy smile, we call him, he has a nice Kool-Aid smile, that he wanted, when he was born, I love the act of carrying babies. I mean, I love that whole nurturing, how the body works. It just amazes me how God created human beings with the egg and the sperm, put them together and make a human. So I just love watching videos and all kind of things, going to museums where they show the mother carry the baby and what it looks like at all the various stages. And I just personally love carrying those babies. I even don't mind going through the pain part. I mean, I don't like the pain. I mean, I have a high pain tolerance, but that's just part of what mother delivering a baby is all about. So I love that aspect, that part of being the mother, carrying a baby and watching it and feeling it move. And yeah, that's just so cool. I've always said that I would love to at one time, if it could have happened, been a surrogate for mothers that couldn't carry babies. I would have loved to say, okay, I'll carry them for 9 months here. You can take the baby and moving on. Because after I had that first child, when I had my son, it was wonderful having him, loving him, having him. But it's like, whoa, there's a lot of work with this. Once you birth that baby, now you got to deal with personalities, got to deal with their whole life, their their life, their whatever it is that was. I'm thinking, do I want to do this for five different children? Especially when I really started listening to my husband and thinking about all the different personalities his sisters and brother was like, and what his parents had to deal with. Like, I don't know. And then also, the more children you have, the less opportunities you have to travel. You can see I'm kind of selfish. I love to travel. We're going to talk about that in a whole another week about my travel obsession. But just to let you know, I love to travel. So I'm thinking, man, if you have a lot of kids, kind of hard to get hotel rooms, places to stay, costs money. So I don't know, maybe I only need one or two. So that thought just changed my mind about having five, just having to deal with the different personalities. So our children were 8 years apart. And it wasn't accidental because I mentioned in the last week about we had a child in between them. So I can't even remember where that was, whether it was right in the middle of the 8 years or what. Don't remember at this point, but I know that they ended up being 8 years apart. The first one was not planned. God gave us that, gave my son Danny to us, not on our schedule, but it was a wonderful schedule to have him. And the daughter was actually planned. So we actually planned her. And then 8 years later, we had her. So, and in that planning, our son was requesting a little sister. I know that wasn't part of the sway. We just wanted another child, especially after having um, terminated the pregnancy of the child that was in the middle. So he was specifically asking for a girl. Of course, we had to explain to him, well, you only got a 50-50 odds, depending on what God says. So it's not like we just can go down to the store and say, give me a girl, and these are the things that she needs to have. So thanks only to God, it was a girl. So it's like, yay, we had to try to explain to him, well, no, now you have a little brother, deal with it. So he got a sister. And when he got his sister 8 weeks later, he was the most attentive young man. He would read to her and all kind of stuff. He was just right there for her. And both of them were still really close, 8 years apart. So I don't know if that 8 years apart helped with sibling rivalry or prevention of sibling rivalry. But anyway, it worked. So I breastfed both of them. And usually I took a year because I really was trying to remember how long did it take. I think it was a year that I breastfed them because I was old school. My mother breastfed us. So I just followed her example to breastfeed both children so they can have the most nutritious milk they can have at the youngest age they can have it. And even while I was breastfeeding them, I was only home from work. Because remember, I'm still working 6 weeks. So I would also pump the milk so they would be in bottles for whoever the babysitter was to feed them. And then sometimes that was just convenient for me. Like sometimes maybe I didn't feel like breastfeeding at nighttime because they keep you up at night. And if you got to go to work, you need to get your sleep. And that way my husband could feed them sometimes at nighttime. So I would pump them and then pump breast. And then they would have breast milk in the refrigerators that could be warmed up later. So for the first 2 years with our first child, we stayed with my parents because we were trying to save for a house, which we did. We saved money. And so the cool part about that is, when you have your first baby, you're totally clueless. Totally clueless. I mean, granted, there's a million one kind of books out there to help you with child raising, but it's still not the same. And when you really have the child there, it's like that book doesn't apply to my situation. So that was kind of cool having my mother there helping me just to know what to do when situations happen. Like, why is he acting like this? What is he doing now? What's going on? What is he trying to say? Why is he crying? Because you got to figure out, do you need to change it, or you need company, or what is it? Why are you doing this? Are you just uncomfortable? What's going on? Because they don't know how to talk yet. They're trying to tell us, but and we can't understand the language. So I was with my mother and my father for 2 years. So that was a big help in just my parenting. So eventually we left there once we got enough money to save for a house. And then while I was working also during that 2 years and after we moved into our own place, family members babysat for us because we did have a great family member on Dan's side of the family who babysat because didn't want to put them in a daycare so early in life when they're babies right out the womb. It's like, no, we want to leave with a person to take care of them. We also had another person, and it might have been further Tia, because I'm trying to remember now. I know both of them had the family member for a minute, but then we also had somebody else in there. I just can't remember who it was. But in any case, the point was to have a human being just with our child, even if they were watching a couple of children, but in somebody's house, babysitting a child where they're still and diapers, hardly able to fend for themselves or anything like that. So that's what we did. Then when they got a little older, around 3 years old, when they were able to talk and tell us what's going on in this in the daycare system or whatever, then we put them in daycare because we wanted them to have that social interaction so that when they got into kindergarten, then it would be good to go and not be, whoa, what do I do with these people since I haven't been with them? So that's how we worked it there so he can be in the daycare. Now, they both were in the same daycare, not at the same time because they're 8 years apart, of course, but we took them to the same daycare when Danny was finished with his and ended up going to school. Then when it was Tia's turn to be in the daycare, we took her to the same place. So with her, different from him because they were in different elementary schools. We were still living in the same city. We lived in Warrensville Heights at the time. But trying to think what happened. Oh, we moved from Warrensville Heights to a different city, which is in the same school district. So that meant we had three elementary schools in the Warrensville School District. We ended up moving closer to one of the other schools that our son was not in. So son went to one elementary school, the daughter went to a different elementary school in the same school district. So that particular daycare was across the street from that other elementary school, so they provided after-school care. So that what would happen is then she would go to school, because the kindergartners, they had to take a bus anyway, so the bus would pick her up from the daycare and for that year brought her back and forth. Once she got into the first grade, then she had to walk from school across the street at the light and then be there for the aftercare. So that was kind of a really good convenient thing to not have to worry about what to do with her after school. So that worked out really good. So while we was having these children, we, like anybody else, I'm sure all of you that are parents, you learn that your life is no longer your own. Whatever you were into, whatever you were trying to do before you had these children, all kind of modifications had to come up. My husband and I would always say we signed a baby contract that we didn't know about. We called it baby contract because we're both union people, and we talk about the contract you have as a union person, and you have to live by that. So we say, oh, we must have signed some kind of baby contract that we didn't even know about because now we got to go by whatever the needs of that child is and immediately answer it, especially when they're babies, because they don't waste no time. Like, I don't care what you're doing. You got to drop what you're doing. I'm hungry. I need a change, diaper change, whatever the problem is. So you got to get up early in the morning, feed me, whatever. So then we learned that, oh, okay, we got to make modifications to how we work, how we just go out or whatever, travel. Because when you're traveling, when you have a baby, it's a full-time job in addition to the full-time job that you have outside of the home, so those babies can be fed, or the playtime that you used to have. Maybe now you don't have it as much because now you got to be with the child. Because if every time you want to go somewhere, you want to go on a date, you got to have somebody watch the baby. And our son, boy, woo wee, he was a pistol when we finally start letting other people babysit. So we go on a date because he would cry like crazy. He was just like, eh. So eventually it got to a point where he wouldn't do that. But in the meantime, it was rough. Like, oh, can't leave him with nobody because he'll probably cry the whole time. So then traveling was a thing too, because they carry a lot of baggage, not just traveling going out of town, just traveling just to take them anywhere. Because you cannot leave the house with just, in my case, only a purse. You already know you got to carry the diaper bag, carry all this stuff, and then you got to carry them in these darn swing things in whatever carriers they have. In our days, we didn't quite have the same kind of carriers that they have now, but we did have those car seats and these big old things that we would put them in. So we bring that stuff so we can put them in, especially the car seat. Even though I also remember it was during a time when, particularly for my son, that maybe we didn't have the car seat law, so sometimes you carried them in your arms in the car. And when I think about that now, like, wow, that was kind of dangerous, man. You got an accident, baby's flying. But hey, we survived it. Seatbelts, who had that anyway as an adult? I didn't do seatbelts until they made it a law. I'm like, dang, I don't like this wearing a seatbelt. Still don't quite like wearing it, but I know it's helping me with staying alive. But anyway, so traveling, especially on a plane or anything, man, you got a lot of luggage to carry to get on that plane. But one thing I do like about that, because I like to travel, when my daughter was a baby, we flew out to California to surprise our uncle for a birthday party, and we had the baby. And the cool part about that is it was me, my husband, and my father. We went out there, flew. We had so much baby stuff, and it was cool because having a baby that young, you get on the plane early. Each of us had a piece of stuff because we had so much stuff to carry. Like, oh yeah, we have this baby get on this plane. So we said, yeah, we love that. Thank you, baby, for coming. And she's a good flyer. She wasn't screaming or crying, so nobody had to worry about, oh man, why are you flying all the way across the country in California and this baby screaming, hollering? She was cool. She liked to travel even then. All right. So as parents, we have a tendency to damage our kids, especially the first one, because the first one you don't have any clue. The second and third one, you might have a little bit more clue, but then they got different personalities. So how you raise the first one is going to be totally different than any kids after that, because the personalities are different. So just be ready. If you're a parent, especially a new parent coming in, you are going to damage your kids some kind of way because of something you're going to say, something you're not going to say, something you're not going to do, or whatever, whatever. It's just a matter of how severe that is. So just keep praying, help God help you out on what needs to really happen about having a less damaged child because of what you did. Because there's no really book out there that truly tells you how to raise kids. I mean, there's like tons and tons of books. You can tell tons of books that give you all these great what do they call them? Ideals. I'm trying to think of the other word that they call on a computer. It just went out of my head just that quick. But anyway, all kind of great, wonderful books that tell you about what you need to do, how to raise them, if they got this, if they cough and they got this and that, how they, we got the diapers, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. So there's nothing that's going to specifically say, okay, Jewel, because your daughter is this way, or because your son is that way, you should do blah, 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 whatever that blah, blah, blah is. You just got to figure it out and pray to God or just hope it works it out, whatever that is, you know. So, but the Bible does help us out a little bit. It does tell us in Ephesians 6:4 to the fathers, and I will say mothers too, don't exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. So one of our main things we have to do is to train our children on what it's like to live for the Lord, be with the Lord, be obedient, and just tell them about the Lord at all. Of course, when we were younger, I wasn't we weren't in the church as deep at that time, so we didn't do a lot of this instructional thing because we weren't there. So how can you teach something to them if we're not there? So that's where we at now. Now I'm at a whole different place as far as instructional kind of thing now. So they're probably getting it after the fact as adults and through my grandchildren. But yeah, the Bible makes it real clear. Don't get your children upset. You can see that because we understand that you want to be encouraging to your children. You want to um, just help them to be the best that they can be and not say negative things to them, not, I don't know, just not be over harsh, that kind of thing. Just help them. They have to be disciplined, but then at the same time, don't overdo it that they're to the point that they just can't even hear you because something of the negative that you're relaying to them or physically abusing them, that kind of thing. But at the same time, the Bible says that whoever spares the Bible hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. So we definitely need to discipline our children from Jump Street. It's amazing how a couple day old, a month old baby can have this thing in them, you know, because we're all born into sin. No baby comes into the world absolutely perfect and a little angel, and they're so cute and adorable. Yeah, they're cute and adorable, but at the same time, you can tell that they know how to work the system. They know how to work you. So you need to start disciplining the children as soon as possible. As soon as you see them going off in this kind of direction and this kind of behavior, you know, whatever they're doing. It's not funny. Don't be laughing at it, even though in your head you're probably laughing because it's so funny and cute, but don't be letting them see it. You gotta stop that, nip that in the bud, and discipline them. I mean, don't be beating them, because you know we already know why we got the whatever that number is, kids people call because there's a lot of people out there that have abused kids to the max and they just over the top. But then that means that a lot of generational kids are not getting disciplined at all because they already know I'm gonna come, blah blah blah. If you do this to me, kid, the kid is saying this. So but you need to discipline them from the jump street when they're very young, so that as they get older and you continue with this discipline, they will go in the ways that they should go. Alrighty. So during this time, this one I started finding out because remember I wanted to be this mother. I started realizing, man, I don't really have the patience to be this motherhood thing. I'm glad I'm working a job because it gives me a time to be away and do this other thing at work, even though I still don't want to work. I still would rather be home. So it makes me wonder if I didn't have to work, and I had the money, but I had a nanny or something, so I could have a little piece of them, but not in the piece at the same time. I don't know, get a breather. I don't know. I just know that I was not didn't have the mothering instinct that I thought I would have, or what I thought I saw on TV, or what I thought I saw in something, the lady next door or something, something, I don't know. I just didn't have the patience at that time. Because I was young, I don't know what that's all about. It's just so because I want to do what I want to do. But my husband, on the other hand, he got so much patience. Oh my goodness, super, 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 super patience. I mean, to the point that I had a daughter, right? So now I gotta comb this daughter's hair. Daughter is screaming and hollering because I'm trying to comb her hair. That's because I don't have the patience. I'm just raking through her hair. And of course, they talk about being tender-headed. So she's probably tender-headed because I was going so hard. I was just going fast. I'm like, I just get this thing done so we can move on to whatever. And my husband's so gentle, a little pumpkin, he parting her hair, making her hair looks fabulous, and she's not shedding a tear. Because he's so patient with her, so gentle. Working with her hair. And he just that patient with both of the children way more than I was, because I was busy working. I was busy going to school. I mean, I don't have time to be hanging out with these kids, but both of the kids was are very, very needy and demanded my attention. So when I was home cracking a book, I wouldn't be a doubt that one of them would come over like, oh, mom, come on, play with me, do whatever, whatever, and then I'd, now I'm trying to study for a test or whatever. I have to close the book and spend the time with them because, didn't want to be in that situation where I didn't spend any time with them. But at the same time, still wasn't spending enough time, in my opinion. I don't think I was spending enough time to satisfy whatever their love, hunger, need was. So and that's just the way it is. Then that's where my damaging probably came from, just not giving them the love that they needed because I'm so busy working, going to school, whatever. Then we got grandchildren. So when my first grandchild came, I wasn't available for that first grandchild too either, because I even told my daughter that, I'm still working, I'm doing all this other kind of stuff. So don't expect me to babysit or do any of that stuff. I'm like right in the beginning while she was still carrying the child, like say laying down the rule that you have a child coming, you're the mother, might help out every now and then, but don't rely on me to be that steady Eddie babysitter because when I got to work, go to school or whatever else the heck I was doing, traveling, whatever it was I was doing. So, and then at the same time, I was telling her, and I don't know if I told her or Sherry, I had to have told her because I had seen so many of my friends become the parent of the grandchild, where the daughter was out still running around the street. And I was like, that's not happening in this house. I'm not going to raise the child. I might help you with the child, but I'm not going to raise the child, be here to babysit and do all this kind of stuff because you need to raise a child. And I'll just be here maybe to help because she did live in our house. And so we're providing housing, that kind of thing, so that she could still be in the house with us with the child, but I'm not going to be raising a child for them because I don't want her to run into that loop that I saw other parents are, where the kids are gone and the parents, though they love their children, are trapped into raising that grandchild. It wasn't going to go that way. That was just not happening. And it never did. And the cool part about that is my daughter, got so many darn benefits from almost like being an independent because she got a lot of benefits coming in that she received while she was a single mom. And then at the same time, it helped her to be totally independent. That woman is so organized, independent, standing on her feet. She's just that whole tough love, even though I didn't really realize I was doing that. But she has turned out to be an outstanding woman and is a great mother for the children that she have now. I don't know why I keep doing this, hitting the wrong thing. But anyway, so the second grandchild, I was more available. I was a little older. I was still working. Yeah, I definitely was still working. Let me think. He's 9 now. Well, maybe not. Maybe I was fully retired. Right, 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 right. That's why I was more available. Maybe in the beginning I was still doing a little side hustle because I did do a lot of other side hustles that had nothing to do with my full-time government job, but I was definitely more available. Yeah, okay, so I was fully retired, but that didn't mean I wasn't gonna babysit for 5 days a week either while she was at work because it was like, that's not happening either because now I'm retired. I'm like free. Now I can do the things that I couldn't do when I was working. And we'll talk about that in another chapter. We'll talk about the life of a retired person. But anyway, so definitely more available. So I'm thinking I'm remembering that I was technically babysitting him for about 3 days a week, and then that way I didn't have him for the whole week. And I don't know who the used for the other 2 days. Now I'm thinking about it, I can't remember if they used I don't even know. I can't even remember like who had them the other two because they both work 5 days a week. So I definitely was available for him. I took him everywhere. I had him in a chest pack, a backpack. I even had a three-wheel stroller so that when I went on my walks and training for races and stuff like that, he was with me. All he knew was that we was always going somewhere in that trailer, the three-wheel stroller, all terrain. We was out in the weather, we was in malls, we was all over the place. And it got to a point that when he did start walking, he would want to help push the stroller. And then when he got tired, he would get back in the stroller because he's like, Mom, grandma, you going 5, 10 miles. I can only go a couple. Because I remember one time, me and my girlfriend, we were walking 8 miles in a mall. Don't even ask me. It's a whole nother story. We walking all these miles in a mall, outside the mall. And one time in the mall, yeah, it was 8 miles. And that's if I'm exaggerating. It definitely was no more, it definitely no less than 4 or 5, because she and I walked a lot to the point that the doctors were like, you guys doing this excessively? I'm just walking way too much. And that's a whole nother chapter. We'll talk about me as a walker, whole nother life. But anyway, so he gonna decide to walk, push the mall, push the stroller in the mall instead of him riding in the mall. So I'm saying, okay, well, whatever. Which unfortunately slowed our pace because he's at a slower pace. So we pushed it the whole distance, wherever it was, blah, 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 blah. Never got into the stroller, never got into the stroller. Like, dude, because I was waiting, okay, after a mile, he gonna get in. Nope, he gonna keep on pushing it. So by the time we got out to go get into the car, then he's complaining about his feet hurt. I'm like, dude, that's what do you think? You walked up the entire thing. So he never did it again. He's like, okay, I'll walk for a little bit and then I'll walk. Then I'll get back in the stroller. So, but he was part of everything I did. I just included him in whatever my schedule was. He was with me. So I didn't, those 3 days I was with him, it wasn't like I was babysitting because I was still doing me, but him tagging along. I mean, he's a great resistance when you carrying him around in a packer. I called it tennis elbow, baby elbow too, carrying it darn carry around. Them things are heavy. To switch them, things get heavy, especially if the baby's getting heavier as they grow bigger. So thanks only to God, both my children are productive members of society, even though I know we've damaged them somewhere because we had a lot of activities. We had them in, we had scouting and all this other kind of stuff. And that's a whole nother, like we'll talk about in a whole nother chapter about scouting and other things that we did with them. And then the cool part is I have great close relationships with the grandchildren, especially the younger one, because since I had him from birth, still till now, he's 9, will be 10 in a couple months in March. We have a great relationship. So I'm just glad that whatever damage we did to all 4 of our 2 children and the 2 grandchildren, at least on my part, that they're not out there doing crazy stuff and we're really close. So it's just really good that the relationships exist only because God was in there, because relying on me, especially me, I don't know where they would have been. So I mean, I even had to discipline my granddaughter one time because she's said something to me out of pocket and I had to smack her behind and then she switched up. So she's like, okay, grandma, I ain't taking nope, sorry. I'm using the rod on you just like I did your mama. So so as a parent, you just need to be prepared to deny yourself for children, because once you decide I'm going to do this parent thing, whether you chose to or not, because like I said, God is the one that decides you are having children or you're not having children. Just be prepared. You're gonna have to deny yourself. It's not gonna be about you anymore. It's definitely not about you. It's like you're in the military, and you wherever they gotta go, will do. That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna be doing activities, we going to their school things, paying out money. Life is not your own anymore. So just be ready for that and be gentle about it, because it's a blessing to have children. There are so many women out there and men for that matter that want to have children, but for some reason can't have them. God is not allowing that to happen. And I know if God's not allowing that to happen, there's a reason for it. So he has some other purpose and plan for them. But wow, just to have all these arrows in your quiver is just amazing gift from God. So always be that parent that is a godly example for children to learn from. So you have to watch what you say. I mean, because it's one thing because you have to actually practice what you preach, as they always say. Practice what you preach, because their kids are always watching you, and they're going to see if what you say, that whatever the Bible's telling you really matches up. So whatever your doctrine is, it needs to be exactly the same as what the Bible is saying, because they're going to do what you say. They're going to say what you say. It's just amazing the words that come out of their mouth because they heard you say it. So if you're saying it, then just be ready when they come back at you. Don't be going, where'd you get that from? And where'd you get that behavior from? Children are good imitators. My grandson was one of the best ones because he cracked me up one time trying to think, what the heck was we doing? Um, somebody, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. It seemed like somebody was walking kind of weird. I think he saw this on a video somewhere where oh, I know what it was. I don't know what, okay, I don't know. This is weird. It's on topic, but off topic. It's like when you get older, and I've seen it with younger people. That's why I always complain when I see a young child, a young teenager doing this. There's this inaudible sound you make when you get up, like, oh, you get up, you sit down, you move or whatever, you start. It's like you don't even know you're saying it. It's like, I don't know what's up with that. No matter how great a shape you are, you make this sound, and I don't know why that is, because I had to stop making that sound. I'm making a sound when I'm moving. Like it's hurting me. I'm like, it's not hurting me. Why am I doing it? I can see if I had broken bones or some sore muscles or something, because then you would be making that sound. But it seems like it's something with age. But I've seen younger people doing it now too. And I don't know what that story's about. So I was making that sound for whatever reason, because I wasn't a lot of racism. Maybe I wasn't paying. I don't know. But I'm making it sound. This little enemy, 4, 5, 6-year-old, making it sound. I'm like, dude, why are you making it sound? Because you're more flexible than I am and everything. So why are you making it sound like it's a painful thing to get up off the ground, get up out of a seat or whatever? So, like I'm saying, these kids will imitate every little personality or that you have. I remember one of my ministry leader women telling me that our children are an amplification of ourselves. So whatever good you have or whatever bad you have, they amplify it. So if you're really good, they may be really good. If you're really bad, they're really bad. So whatever you are, you want to keep thinking about whatever I'm doing or not doing in life, your kids are going to amplify that behavior. So it's going to be that much more out there. So always be that godly example for the children to learn from. And then always put God first. Because you don't want to turn your children into idols where, okay, now I'm going to put God first. I'm not reading my Bible. I'm not going to church. I'm not whatever, whatever. I'm putting my children before God. God is first, husband second, children later. And that's a whole nother topic by itself, just going through this priority. Always put God first. No matter how cute your little baby is, how much time would you spend with him, blah, blah, blah. Have that same, I want to spend that kind of time with my God first, and then spend the time with your little darling that he gave you as a gift. So, and then when that happens, you're all good. All right, so thank you so much for coming by for another one of these. So next week I'm thinking about what we talking about. Oh yeah, the what we how ooh, the idol of being a Girl Scout and a Boy Scout leader, man. You just don't know, man. It was a story. Some of you do, and some of you will find out next week. We start talking about the great activities that we've done with our children and how, yeah, they just didn't quite work out. So thank you. It worked out, but didn't work out. So thanks for coming. We'll see you next week.